Hello everyone, this is Ryan, and this is...
Hi, I'm John.
And we're at the Osaka Makerspace, and this is our third installment of our podcast.
That's right.
And the second one I've been in because my wife decided to go on a little vacation the other day.
Yes.
And
Ryan missed that one, so it was me and Namba-san and Naoya. And today it's back to me and Ryan, and we'll be in English again this time.
Yep. And we have a lot of exciting ideas that we're trying here and there at the Osaka Makerspace.
Yeah, so what have you been working on, Ryan?
Well, I've been doing a few various art projects lately. There was one YouTuber named Yvonne Williams. It was a lady who does jewelry or sort of artsy kind of projects. But one of the things she's known for is making these hand-painted glass dragon eyes. And this is mine. This is not hers. This is the one I did. Yeah. But I was following essentially her idea, and you start with a glass dome piece, and she calls this, or I think this one's called a cabochon.
Yeah.
And basically it's a very simple glass piece where it's flat on one side, domed on the top, and it gives a slight magnifying glass kind of effect.
So it's a convex lens of sorts.
Right. And the old-fashioned thing to do such things like this is you take you take a picture, a good picture, and you put it on the back of maybe a loved one or something, and you can make this into a pendant, or maybe put it on a book cover or some sort, like a nice leather-bound book with this on there would be a really cool looking book for someone.
Now, this shape is also called a collimating lens.
A collimating lens.
Yeah. So the idea being that if you send a wide pattern of light from behind, then the dome shape will focus all of it more to a point.
Oh, okay.
And so for lasers and things like that, these are the types of lenses that they use, and as well with our eyes, the same type of shape.
Right, that kind of makes sense. But of course, our eyes are
doing the opposite. You're taking light from a large area and focusing
right,
more
which of course,
area.
Evolutionarily speaking, we can talk about how that helps you determine where shadow's coming from.
Right.
Which of course is very, very useful if you're looking out for predators. But at any rate, then other things to do, they often paint sort of scenes on the back. And of course those scenes are kind of magnified, and it's a very interesting effect. And of course there's different shapes, different sizes you can buy of these.
Yeah.
And
I was noticing your eye that you painted.
Right.
Like when you look at it from the side, the light does bend, and you can still see, even looking like basically directly from the side, you can still see the pupil in the middle.
Right.
The light tends to bend up as along with the dome shape.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Very interesting. Very interesting effect. Oh, it's really weird.
As you turn it, that's really interesting.
Really.
Yeah.
It looks really almost alive, and that's pretty good. And my idea is actually, Yvonne Williams, of course, just uses it for jewelry projects. She puts it in, like, as I said, pendants or bracelets or something like that.
She did the Eye of Sauron, right?
Right, that's it. And it was her fiery red eye, but she has several others of different colors. And a very creative person, very interesting techniques that she used.
Cool.
My idea is that I'm going to encase this in one of my copper bonsai sculptures.
Yep.
And I'm going to try to make it so that it looks like the bonsai is kind of growing out of the eye. And maybe, I don't know if I can get a really good effect.
Maybe a green eye would be a good idea for that.
Hey, that might be an idea. Yeah.
I'm kind of like, for some reason, channeling Magic the Gathering. You want a tree growing out of an eye, it's got to be green.
Tap 2 green to grow a copper tree. Something along those lines. And
so it might be 2 green and 1 red.
Yeah, or yeah, I might try this, and my next die might be. I was thinking about making a golden dragon eye, kind of Dungeons and Dragons esque, going through the metallic or chromatic dragons from my old D&D days, which are not that long ago. Yeah, I still do it anyway. But yeah, that's one of the projects we've been working on, and I don't know if our last podcast it featured our trees that showed up in our
maybe not.
Showed up in our shop.
I think we had a different angle, but yeah.
And,
This is so. In our first podcast, we got a phone call from the guys who were cutting trees in the park.
Right, that's why I mentioned it.
Yes, this is one of the trunks. We have I guess what I'm assuming is an upper part that's extremely long in the hallway. And I kick it daily.
Or trip over it. Or...
It's time to chop that thing up. So actually, this is something that I think that we might be able to do with at least some of the pieces of trunk. I don't know if you know what a kokeshi is, but a kokeshi is a type of Japanese statue sort of thing. It's a carved shape of usually a child, and their origins are somewhat mysterious. People are not exactly sure if it's like an effigy for a person who has died as a way of remembering them, or if it's just art or different things. But Japanese people in general tend to consider them a little bit creepy, and my girlfriend collects them because, like me, we don't believe in creepy stuff. I mean, why would you be afraid of a little doll?
Wow.
So, anyways, we have a large one that she has. It's like this, and it clearly came from a very large tree. I'm thinking probably it was a keyaki, and it's probably a quarter of the trunk, and it's about this tall, and so I guess the trunk would be, I don't know, 40, 50 centimeters in diameter there. And I think there was probably enough space for 4 of them, because when you look down on this thing, you can see the rings.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And so it's only taking up maybe a quarter of the tree based on the curvature of everything.
Okay, so maybe they split the tree.
Right.
That's a common thing. These dolls are actually made by turning them on a lathe.
Right.
Many people don't understand lathes. Modern lathes are really big, dangerous machines, but actually, the wood-turning lathe is one of the oldest woodworking tools. It was late Bronze Age. We started finding examples of, the tools you might use on the lathe, and we found references, written references from Roman times of people using lathes. These are really ancient tools, and of course the first lathes were just a bent-over tree. That would be the spring. It'd be a young sapling that would bend over and tie a rope to the top. And as you push down on a pedal, it would pull down the tree, and the motion of the tree unbending would be the energy of the turn on your lathe. And they would use bronze tools, and then they started using steel tools, and then progressing all the way up to the Middle Ages, where a lot of the earliest bagpipes were lathe, the reed pieces and such. And that was done with actually dogfish skin was the sandpaper they used, because dogfish is a type of shark actually, and it's smooth one way and kind of sharp and spiky the other way.
Right.
So if you turn it the right way on the lathe, it makes a very effective polishing paper and sandpaper. It's dried dogfish skin.
That's cool.
But anyway, John and I kind of love the lathes.
It's really fun. It's very meditative in a way.
Zen.
You start lathing something, and if you're going slowly, trying to make sure that it's done properly, then you lose all track of time. It's very therapeutic and cathartic. It's wonderful. I love it.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, I was thinking some of these larger pieces we don't know what to do. I don't know, maybe not the trunk, but some of these the long limbs and things, maybe we chop a bit and carve some kokoshi out of them or something
Well,
like that?
yeah, I think it would be okay to just chop a bit and then maybe even the big piece and quarter it with some wedges, like they do with green wood working,
Yeah.
and then you just take 1/4 or something, and then you can
Yeah.
make your kokoshi or
Yeah. Or even the smaller pieces are not quite so big around. I don't know if there's going to be a problem with the heart being the center of the kokoshi or not.
Well, the problem with using the heart is it's often well this is sakura tree, and sakura tree often the ones around here are the five leaf sakura tree. What's that called? I forgot the Japanese.
I don't.
The 5 petal blossoms in
Was it a dicotyledon or something?
I don't remember. No, it's the Yamamoto something.
There's the monocotyledon and the dicotyledon.
Okay. But at any rate, the five petal blossoms, but they're all clones of each other.
Yeah.
They're all taken from a single tree, which just makes it interesting because they all bloom at the same time.
Yeah.
And
well, the same ambient temperature and
all that sort of thing.
Different times depending on where you are in the country. And so they have calendars even describing, well, at this week, these places are going to bloom, and this week, these places are going to bloom, and as they go up the main island of Japan. So
there's kind of a retiree thing to do in Japan where you kind of follow the blossoms. You start in Okinawa and you get where it's hot, so they bloom first, and then you go up to. I guess the next one would be Kyushu.
I think that's got to be a pretty good vacation.
I think that's great. Yeah.
You spend the entire spring looking at cherry blossoms
and drinking under the trees and having a few dumplings and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's a very
it's a nice way to
chill
live life.
way of it's really good.
Yeah.
But at any rate, the sakura trees they have sort of genetic defects.
Yeah.
And one of them is that they tend to die on the inside.
Yeah, they rot from the inside out.
Which is kind of sad. But for your project, because it's not structural at all. It's not supporting a weight or anything. So you probably get away with it. It's probably okay.
Yeah. Well, this piece here is certainly dying from the inside, and you can see it in the middle of each.
Yeah, the big branches there.
Yeah, the big branches and everything. And so, personally, I'm thinking, without looking at the bottom, I don't know what the bottom looks like, but pass on this piece.
Okay.
One of these other pieces where it's not quite so dead inside.
Right. Okay. Well,
but
we have lots of pieces lying around.
I guess it depends on if I want to just use the outside part and have that middle, the heart, kind of shaved off or something. But they're gonna be relatively small. Then I don't know. It's just a thought.
It's a thought. Anyway, lots of thoughts. Lots of thoughts.
Something to look into. Something to look into. Experiment with maybe.
I'm really hoping that these woods, these sakura pieces, that one, I'd like to make some wooden beer mugs out of a few.
Oh, yeah.
And two is one of our projects that we sell as a kit is to make these little clocks.
Yep.
And the clocks are just kind of a slice of tree with the wood still on it. And the bark still on it. It's, of course, the wood's still on it.
I would hope so.
With the bark still on it, and you drill a hole in the center, and that's the hole the hands for the clock come through. And then you decorate the front, maybe either with wood burning technique or on the
laser cutter,
or
CNC
or whatnot, and so you get some really wonderful decorations, or photo transfer is another option.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Where you can, do the.
You can print out something.
Print out a picture,
have, like the numbers and the correct orientations, and a picture of your loved one or dog.
And what you do is you
ferret.
Whatever. We did our cat. And you print it in reverse,
right?
And then you take some sort of glue, and the way we worked out, we got it to work with what was it, urethane.
I think was it urethane?
It was the urethane coat that we used.
Yes.
So we put down some urethane and then used that as a glue to glue down the picture, and we pressed that down and let it. We were kind of impatient.
I think some people use silicone.
Yeah, some people use silicone.
The
Some
iron
people use
transfer is a somewhat effective way
somewhat
to go.
effective.
Where you press some hot iron down on top of it.
a lot of
Causes
people.
the plastic on the paper to connect to whatever you're connecting to, and then as
Right.
you wash off the back of the paper, it mostly stays. Most of them involve washing the paper off the back.
Right. Almost all of them involve that.
Right.
But as far as putting the image on there,
Mm.
I think the most frequently used glue is probably Mod Podge, which is kind of like a mixture of white glue and water. It's like a thinned down white glue.
Yeah.
There's recipes online for Mod Podge. You guys can look it up.
Great.
But anyway, you put down Mod Podge and you glue down the surface. The most important thing is if you're using photo paper, it doesn't work very well.
So actually, I've heard that photo paper is one of the best ways to do this because that plastic bit on the back you can just peel off.
Oh, okay.
But I guess it depends on what type of an adhesive that you're using. For some things, photo paper might not be best, and for others, it might be.
Well, I was told that like the glossy top of
Yeah.
some kinds of photo paper,
Right.
like when it glues down, that plastic stays, but the image
Yes.
gets pulled off with the paper on the back.
Well, the way I understand it is because when you're printing onto a piece of paper, you're printing on top of whatever's already there, right?
Oh,
So if there's a piece of
okay.
plastic that's there to make it look shiny or whatever, and it
Ah.
absorbs the ink or whatever, that's one story.
Okay.
But yeah, you want to get that paper off, and even that plastic stays. It's impregnated with ink anyway, so it should.
But anyway,
be okay.
don't use your antique photos.
No,
Like
no.
those won't work. We
Don't
know
do
that.
that.
Don't do that. But the idea is if you're doing color printing, you do a laser, not laser, inkjet
Primarily, yes.
inkjet print, good inkjet print, and then use that good print to do a photo transfer. But anyway, that'd be a really cool clock, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe put someone's face on it, your children's
Yeah,
faces
sure.
or something like that.
Yeah.
But also, I didn't think about it. You probably do a transfer also of the clock face itself
Yes.
to make a
yes.
very
It's
interesting
like overlay
design.
in GIMP or something.
But we bought a while back on auction this huge, kind of scary machine.
Which one?
Belt,
The
bandsaw, yeah.
Yes.
And it was my mistake.
It's huge.
Well,
I don't know if it's a mistake because it might be useful, but
Well, I wanted one that you could change out the blades, and this
Yeah.
one you can change out the blade for a new one, but the only blade that's available is
the same size
the same size,
and it's huge.
and it's huge. So it's really good for recutting,
Yeah.
and so it'd be great to actually take slices out of this tree.
Yes. For the wood that we have
If it
sitting around
works.
that we think will eventually dry in a couple of years, and we might chop it up. Maybe it'll dry a little faster.
Well, I think we probably could use some of it kind of greenish
Sure.
for art projects.
Yeah,
That'd be
for some of
fine,
it.
I think.
But yes, this bandsaw is perfect for that because it's like basically a type of lumber mill type saw.
Right.
It's huge and a lot of space that you can just really just ram a bunch of wood through there. So we just need to find the appropriate application for it.
And keep all our fingers in doing it because I'm kind of scared of it.
Yes,
a little bit.
yes.
But anyway, that's one of the ideas we're having around here is to do with all this good, fun wood that we're getting here.
Yeah.
And of course the same guys came by a while back and gave us some thinner wood
Yep.
that turned out to be camphor wood, which grows around these parts of Asia. But not so much in the States. So when they gave it to me, I was
a
kind of
little
just
bit
like,
of camphor in the States.
a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I feel like growing up because we have a family farm and it's a large place and it's mostly wooded.
Right.
And I feel like my father pointed out some trees and said, "Oh, there's camphor and this is blah blah blah." And
It might be a different camper, but
It could be.
but at any rate, I didn't recognize it.
okay.
And I grew up in the southeast, Georgia, South Carolina, Kentucky, and most of the forests there. Well, until you get to Kentucky, most of the forests are pine wood,
Yeah.
and that's because of famous thing during the Civil War. Sherman's March to the Sea. He burnt all the forests from Atlanta all the way to the coast. And so
East Coast.
For the East Coast, yeah, and that destroyed a lot of the antebellum houses and all that sort of thing in that area. So all the forests they were replanted or let to grow, and so mostly pine. So all the old oak and stuff is not really there in that area.
Yeah, my hometown is in what's considered the East Texas Piney Woods.
Piney Woods.
Yeah, it's mostly pine. But one more thing I want to talk about before we finish here. A couple projects that I've got going.
Okay.
So I'm currently doing the electronic cat tower toy.
Yeah.
Which is just over there. There's lots of videos.
Arduino. And
yes, lots of videos on
Arduino.
YouTube now, and a few more videos to come. And so this is it's a cat toy that it's basically a scratching post, right? And the top part is something that can spin, and
right.
And a toy like this can fit inside of it, and then it spins around, and so
with a motion sensor.
Yeah.
So the cat comes, and there's a motion sensor, so it goes to the side, and hopefully the cat is interested in the movement.
Yes. And so while working on it, I managed to burn something out. And it stopped working. I've since repaired that.
Okay.
But while it was broken, he kept playing with the toy. And I've got some really nice videos of it. And he just loves the idea of the post, first of all.
Okay.
He loves the post. But then to have a toy that he can kick and it gets pushed and spins, he also really likes. So even though the toy is like hit and miss every now and then based on like the build that I'm doing and the electronics ability to work properly or burn up and smoke. But anyways, the cat still seems to like the basic idea, so there's a lot to be learned from this. And so there's that, and there's lots of videos you can see on our YouTube channel about this, Osaka Makers. And another project which is coming up very soon is the arcade machine.
Oh yeah, I'm excited about this.
Yeah,
actually,
this should be fun. We'll use a Raspberry Pi 3,
right?
B plus. I don't remember whichever is the newest one, which you have several of, and we'll use that. We bought some
brains.
Yes, we bought some buttons, LED backlit buttons with a little joystick off of AliExpress, and so we have a 2-player control system. We have a Raspberry Pi with all that is needed to get that going. We have a whole bunch of extra monitors, so our screen will probably be mostly square because we've got 4 square monitors over there. Yeah, it'll be square. That's cool. All the old school arcades were all square anyway. But so the only thing we really have to decide is if it's going to be like a stand-up unit or if it's going to be something you put onto a table.
Well, I was imagining a kind of a stand-up unit like an old arcade
Yeah,
because
that's kind of what I'd like to do. Actually.
Because I kind of wanted to put it kind of in front of our shop.
Yeah,
and see
I
if
was
some
thinking
of
the same thing. Some of the neighborhood kids can come over and play it.
Right, and just play it for free or maybe donations, something like that to help.
Well, if we make donations, neighborhood kids, they're poor.
They have money,
Kids never have money.
The kids
Parents
never
have money.
yeah.
So
sell it to the kids.
So
sell it to
that's
the
not
parents.
gonna work. Donation is important.
Well.
Impossible, rather. But yeah, so we could either, I don't know, charge 10 yen for 10 minutes or
10
something.
minutes or something.
Or, I don't know. Anyways, it'll be fun just to make it.
Just
forget
to make
about
it, that'd be
the
cool.
money.
Yeah.
But
and of course, I was worried about the legalities of using the games. But you said we're going to be using like
yes, we're gonna use homebrew games.
Homebrew games.
Yeah,
okay.
homebrew or things that are in the public domain. So homebrew meaning like Mario Wars, which is perhaps something some of you know about. Basically, what it is you have this map, and on the map there are some obstacles and different like platforms and things, and there are some power-ups as well. And so the map doesn't change, and you have 2 to 4 characters. In this case, there'd be 2. And you run around on the map and you try to just jump on each other's head. And if you jump on each other's head, then that person loses a life, and then whoever is still alive after the other person loses all their lives is the winner. And so it's a little bit like Joust, the old Atari game.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which we talked about a little bit on the last episode in
Right.
Japanese. So if you guys understand Japanese, you know what I'm talking about. And if not, we talked about that.
Okay.
And so it's kind of like Joust in that in Joust you have a player. It's an old Atari game, by the way. You have a player on an ostrich, and he's holding a
Lance.
jousting lance. Thank you.
Lance.
And if you can hit your opponent from behind, then your opponent dies. And if you can't, then you just bounce away from each other. And so
okay.
this is kind of like the same
why
thing.
Ostriches?
I don't know, because they don't fly, but I guess they can jump. I don't know. And so it's kind of the same thing, except you just have to jump on each other's head. If you can jump on your opponent's head, they die. If you don't, nothing happens. You bounce off of each other or whatever. So, yeah, it's a really fun game, and it's got a couple different game modes, and so, yeah, it's nice.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Do we have any time for?
We're running out. We
Have a few more minutes.
a few more minutes.
So one of the projects we would like to do together, well, actually we have two that we're going to talk about. One is I'm really interested in actually trying some projects with cutting foam. And I found a very cheap foam cutter. And foam cutters are ridiculously simple things. They're basically a battery with a wire that has some resistance, so it gets hot when you put an electrical charge to it, and you can cut through like any kind of insulation foam or kind of the foam that you find in forests that you stick.
Forests?
Florist foam.
Oh,
yeah.
florists.
Florists.
I thought you said forest.
No, florist foam.
I thought
florist foam.
Do you mean mushrooms?
No mushrooms. No mushrooms. No.
It's the foam
It's
I find in
it's
forests.
the green foam that you stick flowers in
Yep.
for a flower arrangement of some sort.
Right.
And of course, that's kind of like recently I saw a project with a Dungeons and Dragons screen that looks like a castle that was cut through with the pieces. But these kind of projects, what I want is kind of something that looks like a scroll saw. And we were brainstorming the other day, and we have a really neat idea to make a scroll saw style foam cutter that can get different angles on it. And we have an arm that we're going to set at about 90 degree and has a crankshaft that allows it to be pulled in or out. And that crankshaft then, as it does so, pulls it in, it makes a very steep angle with the wire. As you crank it out, it makes more of an upright angle.
It's going to be a tricky build. And the crankshaft idea, I'm not exactly sure if we've settled on that.
Well, I think I've settled on it.
It's a really good idea. I just feel like it's gonna have to move so far over to give us a sharp angle if we want any type of real depth to it. I think
we're going to
arcing
with it.
plate might be the better idea. But anyways, we have some different ideas that we're going to try out.
And we're going to make a video of it, of course.
Yes. And the main point is that we're going to have a foam cutter that's capable of angles, and that will hopefully take a relatively thick piece of material as well.
Right. Yeah. Most of the materials you only use are a couple inches thick, but occasionally...
It should be like 5 centimeters or so.
5 centimeters, yeah. Sorry, metric.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like metric.
I like metric too, but...
imperial.
Okay. But occasionally you would want to actually make a really big structure.
Yeah, that's possible.
And you might want like
you
foam
always
bricks. But
don't be
you
lazy.
cut it. Well, here's the thing: cutting and then layering makes extra things that could go wrong. But if you have just a big piece of foam that you can cut, that'd be a much better thing. And the last project I'm going to talk about is everybody's getting into this cryptocurrency thing.
Oh yeah,
and,
I feel it's clearly a bubble right now.
Yeah.
If you could have gotten on a long time ago,
sell.
Yeah,
sell soon.
And I considered it a long time ago. But then I thought, it just kind of seems like it's going to be a fad, and it indeed is a fad so far. It's going to end up being a fad.
There might be in the future something that
it'll probably persist. It'll probably keep going, but the current popularity is not going to last.
No, it's not going to last.
At least, like, the appreciation, anyway, is not going to last. It's going to settle at a value, which will just be its value, I think.
But anyway, we're talking about Bitcoin mining.
Yes,
before,
yes.
and maybe Bitcoin mining is out because there's too many people doing it at the time.
And too many blocks that remain are just so massive.
Right.
Their mining is going to be relatively ridiculous. You have to basically join a pool.
And everybody mines together, but
Right.
we thought maybe if we could just throw together a Bitcoin miner kind of cheaply using a Raspberry Pi, it doesn't take that much energy, so we could plug it in and just hope
For
the best.
And then after doing some research, it seems like even the Raspberry Pi miners use the Bitcoin miners based on ASIC chips, and they are
which is
still
a USB Bitcoin miner
rather
kind of thing.
expensive for what they are.
$200 or something
Yeah,
per one.
Basically, at least here in Japan.
So we're going to do a little bit more research and see about the other cryptocurrencies, see if there's some way that we could kind of go that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's something to do, kind of just to help supplement our income. But I'm not really expecting us to make it rich off of cryptocurrency.
No, unless we just get hit the lottery somehow.
I've been reading the news lately. I really kind of think like it's gonna
just crash.
It's gonna crash probably not too long from now.
Bitcoin, crash.
All the investors are the ones who made the price really go up, and they're a skittish bunch.
Well,
and so they're already kind of starting to bail, and I don't think it's going to
last. I think Bitcoin just needs to get on the ball with consumers and get consumers to be able to buy stuff with Bitcoin.
Yes, that's right.
That's exactly use it as an actual currency. If they don't use it as an actual currency, then it's useless.
Yes, and
it's just the
transaction prices have been so high until very recently when they went down.
Right.
But it's ridiculous.
But basically, there's not enough shops, I think. That's the thing. If you have some real companies that are willing to accept Bitcoin as currency, then it's going to persist and it's going to have some real basis.
There have been some, but there need to be more.
When I was a money market broker, which I was only a money market broker for about 6 months, but one of the fun factoids that I learned is that actually consumers move the market much more than investors do. And with the Bitcoin, there is no consumer market for it. There's nobody using it in a regular day-to-day basis. So, well, there are a few, I suppose, but it's
not like
actually not like just the American dollar or something.
In the beginning, there were more, I think.
You think so?
Early adopters were like, let's use Bitcoin to buy and sell stuff, and it was kind of like a thing. And now it's just an investment thing. And it's going down.
Right. So if you can get at least some online community, online shops to use Bitcoin, then there'd be an actual support for the currency. But now,
Ryan, we are running out of time.
We are out of time, I think, or a little bit over.
Yeah.
Our assistant's giving us a 3-3 or something.
Yeah, 33 minutes, I believe.
Well,
we're kind of
cut it a little here and there.
It's time to go.
It's time to go.
So, welcome to our third episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. And
this is Ryan signing off.
Yep, I'm John. We'll see you again for episode number 4.
All right.
Bye.
See ya.
Wait.